Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about zero-based budgeting and why you need to be budgeting. For those of you who aren't following along on the blog, in October 2017, we started paying off our student debt, and we started with $26,556.64. And as of right now, we have $1,497.30 left. So we've been able to pay off over $25,000 in the last 20 months. I just want to tell you that I'm not a financial professional, but I'm just sharing our experiences with zero-based budgeting and managing our money. You might be wondering why you even need to budget, but before we were budgeting, we had no idea where our money was going and we had no financial goals. Budgeting gives you control of your money because you're actively managing it and making decisions based on facts and not just guesses. So I'm going to show you how we make a budget and manage our money every month. I believe in order to make a budget that actually works, you need to know where you are and where you want to go. This means being honest with yourself and making goals. By making a monthly budget and then reviewing it at the end of every month, you'll know exactly where your money is going. You just need to dedicate some time every month. I spend about 45 minutes a month on my budget, usually on the 1st. So let's jump right into it. Before you can change anything, you have to figure out where you are starting. This means add up all of your debts. I would write them down from the largest to the smallest and then figure out what you will tackle first. The debt snowball means paying off your smallest debt first to build momentum, which gives you motivation to keep going. The debt avalanche means you'll pay off the highest balance with the highest interest rate first, the one that's costing you the most money in interest payments. We personally decided to go with the debt avalanche method because we only have 2 debts and one of them is a zero interest student loan, which is the smaller balance. It just didn't make sense to me to tackle that one first when we had a larger loan costing $2 a day in interest. Once you decide which debt to pay first, you'll pay the minimum amount on all of your debts and focus the extra payments on your first priority. Once that debt is gone, move on to the next month using the same amount you would have been paying on the one that you just paid off. So obviously, if you're debt-free, you can skip this step. To figure out where your money has been going, I would recommend going back 3 to 6 months in your online banking and getting an average of the money you spent on things like groceries, eating out, gas, entertainment, and other variable expenses. This will help you later on when you make an actual budget as well. No matter where you are in your financial journey, you should be saving, even if you're paying off debt. I would recommend having at least $1,000 in an emergency fund while you're paying off debt because things come up. If your car needs work or your fridge dies, it would be ideal not to add to your debt. Use the emergency fund and then pay it back to yourself. If you plan to buy a house or go on vacation, you should be saving for it. So there are 2 ways to save. Figure out how much you'll need and divide that by the amount of time you have, or figure out how much you can afford to save per month and then how long it'll take you to have the amount needed for your purchase. Either way, I would recommend saving through automatic transfers at your bank. Have the money moved to an account you can't get to with your debit card so you're not tempted to spend it. And I would write down your goal so it's accountable. If you're not convinced by now that you need a budget, let me ask you. Do you have any idea what you spend your money on? Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Do you have savings goals but no idea where to start? And do you want to take control but you don't know how? Zero-based budgeting can help you with all that. Budgeting every month takes up a little bit of time, but the payoff is you know exactly where all your money is going. You control where your money goes. You can save for your house, a vacation, or any other purchases. All it takes is a little time and a plan. Like I said before, I spend about 45 minutes a month managing my finances, going over what we spent, making a plan for the next month. It really doesn't have to be complicated or take a lot of time. Zero-based budgeting means giving every dollar you earn a job, whether it be paying for your mortgage, your groceries, paying off debt, or saving for a vacation. You pay yourself first by meeting your saving and debt repayment goals, and then spend what's left over. You will see where you go over budget and be able to make corrections based on facts. You won't have to guess where your money is going. It does not mean that your bank account will go to zero at the end of the month. You should have a float in your account in case of unforeseen circumstances, usually a couple $100s at least. If you live paycheck to paycheck, part of your budget should be leaving some money in your main bank account as a float until you have enough. After starting budgeting, you'll see that money is actually a tool to help us live the life we want. We wanted to travel, so we made that a priority in our budget. We barely spend on things like clothes because that's not important to us. Budgeting does not have to feel restrictive. In fact, it can help you feel liberated because you'll know how much you're able to spend on things like eating out without having to worry if you'll have to sacrifice somewhere else or that it'll send you into overdraft. You might be wondering what in the world your budget should even look like. In general, you should spend about 25% on housing, 10% on transportation, 10% on utilities, 5% on food, this includes eating out, 10% on debt, and 15% on saving, and 25% on everything else, like entertainment, hobbies, clothes, shoes, etc. Of course, everyone's budget will be different, and that's okay. Personal finance is just that, personal. Once you pay off your debt, you can use that percentage towards more food, more entertainment, savings, or anything you want. Our current budget looks very different. We use about 25% of our budget on debt, but our everything else category only takes up about 15% of our budget. So step one of how to make a budget is to list all of your necessary expenses, things like your rent or mortgage, your cell phone bill, house insurance, car payment, or any other minimum debt payment amounts. You should also figure out if you have any irregular expenses that month, like gifts you have to buy, a power or water bill, or anything that you don't pay every single month. I keep a list of which months I have to pay my power, water, membership dues, etc. If you earn a salary, this part will be super easy. If you're like me and your income varies, don't worry. The best way is to take an average of what you've been earning over the last 6 months. This will help you get an idea of what you earn in general, and then you can make an income goal for the month. Then you need to subtract the total number of necessary expenses from your income or your income goal, and this will give you the amount that you can divide up on your variable expenses. If this number is negative or very low, that probably means you've been spending more than you earn and you'll have to look for a way to cut back or make more money. Using the dollar amount that you have left from subtracting your necessary expenses from your income, decide how much you can save. You should at least be saving for an emergency fund if you don't have one yet. If you want to travel, buy a house, or make a big purchase, then you should be saving for it. Then fill in all of your other variable expenses like food, entertainment, clothes, etc. You should have a good idea of how much you've been spending from looking at your average from the last 3 to 6 months. This will also give you an idea of where you can cut back as well. By the time you've filled out all your variable expenses, you should have accounted for your income or your income goal. Now it's time to go about your month. Try to keep your budget in mind when you do your shopping. You might want to do a mini check-in around 2 weeks into the month in order to see if you're on track. At the end of the month, add up what you spent. I should mention that there are 2 camps on budgeting. A lot of people promote using the envelope system, meaning at the beginning of the month you take out cash to spend on things like groceries, gas, clothes, etc. I like to use my debit because I find it easier to keep track of rather than keeping receipts. If you tend to overspend with your debit, cash might be the way to go for you. Once you add everything up, subtract what you spent from your actual income. If you have money left over, you could use it towards a goal. This is the way we've been able to pay off most of our debt. Every month I send whatever is left over right onto the debt. If that number is negative, it means you've spent more than you've earned, and that's why it's important to have a float so you don't go into overdraft, which would cost you a lot in fees. If you go over what you budgeted for in certain categories or buy something that wasn't planned for in your budget, I don't usually worry about it too much if we haven't spent more than we've earned. If you're always going over budget in a category like food, it might be time to reevaluate what you budget for. It's really important to be realistic when you're budgeting because if you think you're never going to eat out again or buy clothes again, that's just not going to work and you'll get frustrated and give up. A budget isn't meant to be super restrictive. It's meant to make you mindful of your spending and help you get to your financial goals. It's the beginning of a new month, which means you get to start the process all over. By budgeting monthly, you can look ahead at what might be coming up, like a trip, a birthday, Christmas, etc., all of which have an effect on your budget. It's also important for those of us with variable incomes. There are months I know my income will be lower, so I can plan for that by being mindful and trying to spend less on things like groceries, clothes, or eating out. The most important part of sticking to it is creating a system that works for you and making it a routine. I know that I will sit down at the beginning of every month and go over the previous month and make a plan for the next one. I wanted to make something that would make budgeting easier for everyone, so I created this budget binder that outlines our systems exactly. It includes how to make a budget, how to make savings goals, worksheets for debt repayment, and how to track your net worth. So in the budget binder, you'll get 32 colorful worksheets for you to print out and use, step-by-step instructions on how to create a budget, worksheets to keep you motivated and excited about your progress, and access to me anytime that you have questions. One of the best parts about this binder is that it's evergreen, meaning you can print it again and again every year and start over. Honestly, this system has changed everything for us. Before we started managing our money, I had no idea where our money was going, and we were frustrated that we couldn't afford the things we wanted, and we were bitter about what we had spent. Now we have goals, and we know exactly where our money is going and how much we need to make each month to meet our goals. We don't fight over money, so we're on the same page. So there's our system. I want to reiterate that I think budgeting monthly is essential. Before we started the zero-based budgeting method, I would try to make budgets that worked in every situation, and it just doesn't work because of holidays, birthdays, vacations, life. No month is the same. So by making a budget every single month, you'll be able to better plan for those life things that come up. If you have any questions, please let me know down below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you want to talk about money and budgeting, I have a private Facebook group just for that. Money Talks, it's called Save for Travel, so I'll definitely link that below. So that's all for today. I'll see you soon.